your experience in your life, how did you deal with loss? You know, and what were some of the bigger lessons you drew from that experience?
All right, can I first of all say this is a great pleasure. I am so excited. I feel like a little child who's been let out of a cage. It has been death by Zoom, hasn't it? We have been sitting at our desks throughout, so it's very nice to see you. I'm glad you already celebrated yourselves. So I'm looking at this as a celebration. It's actually the very first time that I'm doing a physical event ever since COVID. Now, to get to your question, it has, and I'm going to be giving a lot more detail later on when I make my presentation, but it has been a season of loss. It has been a season of loss. We would be lying to each other if we didn't say that things have been very tough. Like I said, I'm going to go into a lot more detail on that. But it was nasty because basically my business is about getting people together in rooms, you know. So when people were not meeting, I keep on saying, only a hotelier would understand my predicament, because it's not that our business went low. Our business vanished altogether. It vanished altogether. We had no business at all. Now, to answer your question directly, what was my one lesson from this loss? Listen to your spirit. Listen to your spirit. Now, this is not me being religious. I'm not trying to change what you believe. Keep on believing what you believe. But we all have a spirit within us. We all have a spirit within us. And I got to the place where I was hearing instructions. And I think because also when you fall into the bottom, you tend to be teachable. You're willing to listen. So I acted. I would like to say it this way. I've learned to listen to trust, and to obey my spirit. I'll hear an inkling in my spirit that says, do this, call this person, and I'll call them. And some of the instructions I tend to hear in my spirit will be vague, abstract, you know, odd, but I would follow them still. Because really, I fell to the bottom. Absolutely, I had no revenue coming in. So I thank God I have been able to come back up, but it has not been a simple season. It hasn't been easy.
I mean, you talk about the importance of tapping into your intuition, that inner voice, especially at a time like this. And I heard someone once say, don't let fear be your life coach. And at a time like this where it's understandable that, you know, you respond to life now for a place of apprehension because of what has happened, but it's not the time for that. You know, it's interesting, we're talking about this earlier, and you said you heard someone say, from now on, in a post-COVID world, it will be survival of the quickest, not survival of the fittest. So kind of responding to that urgency, responding to, you know, the time telling you, do it now, act now, start that business, you know, start that course, or whatever it is. What advice would you give to people, especially about responding to this period?
Okay, the first thing I would say is this. It's a good idea for us to admit that fear is a thing. Ladies, it's a thing, all right? So rather than take a flight sort of reaction, confront fear. Confront fear. You know, like break it apart. Now, I did a video at one point, and I have a YouTube channel. Ladies, show me your smartphone. Anyone have their smartphone on them? Go to YouTube. Please go to YouTube. There's no time like the present. Would you agree? She just said survival of the quickest. Go to YouTube. Search Christine Mweteli. Christine Mweteli is Mweteli. Christine Mweteli. Hit subscribe. Hit subscribe. There's no time like the present, right? Hit subscribe. Now, somewhere there, later on in the evening, you'll find a video where I was talking about fear is made of fear. Now, if you break fear apart, and I gave the analogy of an onion. If I was holding an onion in my hand and I peeled the top layer, what would I find underneath? Another layer of peels. So if I peeled that, what would I find under that? Another layer of peels. And if you peeled all the way to the inside, what do you find you're left with? Nothing. The entire onion is made of peels. Fear is made of fear. So, fear and faith are both a belief in an uncertain future event, when you think about it. So, on one end is fear, and on the other end is faith. You have the option. So, the way I look at it is confront fear. Like, ask yourself, in my case, what was the worst case scenario? Worst case scenario is I'm the breadwinner in my family and my business has gone bust. I have no way of feeding my children. So then what happens? We are destitute, we are out in the street. So then what happens? We have nothing to eat. Draw a clear picture in your mind of the worst case scenario so that when you turn around and you know what you're walking away from. So don't let fear cripple you to not act. Confront the worst case scenario. Play out in your mind what's the worst case scenario so that you know what you're walking away from. Then you wouldn't say statements like, I need someone to motivate me. Hello? When I have drawn a picture in my mind of what would happen to my children if I didn't make a living today, I don't need you to wake me up, or do I? I do not need you to wake me up. So once you have faced up to what's on this end, then you can walk to the other end. So my advice is, let fear be your fuel. Let fear be what propels you to move away from what you don't want to what you do want. Do you have fear? We all do. But make fear your friend. Play fear to show you what's the worst case scenario and what is it that you're drawing away from. So that's how I'd look at that.
I love that. Make fear your fuel. Before I let you go, Christine, of course we'll have you come back on for your session. What can we expect in terms of what you're going to share?
Okay, I'm going to be making a presentation entitled There Are No Accidents. There are no accidents. Another way of saying that is God does not make mistakes. Another way of saying that is whatever is happening or has happened is good. At the beginning, it might not look good. At the beginning, it might not look good. And I will be giving details of what happened to me. I am in the business of gathering people together. I had zero revenue. I'm the breadwinner in my family. I do not know about your family, but in my family, I'm the breadwinner. So when my revenue goes to bust, you can imagine the kind of situation I was in. So my presentation is going to be entitled, There Are No Accidents.
Fantastic. Can we give a round of applause for Christine?